did it again, folks. Welcome back to our show, Comic Watchers. Brought to you by Comic Watch. Comic Watch is your source for all your comics and media news and reviews written by fans for fans. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Spread the word that we're coming for the clickbait sites. It's our time now. My name is Cody, and I'll be your host today. Now let's meet the gang.
Brian from Daily DC News.
I'm Brian from Comic Watch, assistant editor, writer, and marketing director.
Hey, I'm John Jack. You can find me at my group For the Love of Comic Books on Facebook, John Batusti Jack on Twitter.com, or ComicWatch.com where I write reviews.
All right, now you know everybody. Before we get on to Newswatch, we wanted to thank everybody for the outpouring of support we received for the first episode. Especially Weird Science DC Comics. It's at Weird Science DC on Twitter. And the fabulous folks over at Justin vs. Justin podcast. That's Justin with an I, Justin with an E. Now for some news, starting with Brian, our man on the street.
All right, thank you, Cody. There is so much news going on right now. All right, first off, Chelsea Kane, writer for Vision, announces that Vision miniseries was canceled. No reason given as to why this series was canceled. In other movie news, Sean Gunn states that Disney will use James Gunn's Guardian of the Galaxy Volume 3 script. What I found kind of interesting about that is that Sean Gunn, who announced that, is also the brother or the younger brother to James Gunn. Also, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is one of my all-time favorite shows because I'm going to tell you a little bit of history right now. When I was younger, in my 20s, I loved that show, but what happened was I ended up in a really bad breakup, and I'd watched like the first season, and by the end of the first season, I would be fine. Go Angel. Anyhow, Buffy the Vampire Slayer is leaving Dark Horse and will be released by Boom Studios. And today in DC Daily News, Stargirl gets its star, and Beck Bassinger, who is set to take on the role of Courtney Whitemore, aka Stargirl, which will appear exclusively on DC Universe. Todd Phillips again releases pictures of Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker. There is going to be some video that we're going to post a little bit later on this YouTube channel. Our Arrowverse crossover event is scheduled for the December 9th, 10th, and 11th. It will feature Ruby Rose as Batwoman and Lois Lane, who will be played by Elizabeth Tulik. Titans is set to air on October 12th, only on DC Universe. They will also have a special airing for those lucky ones who go to New York Comic Con. HBO Watchmen series, which will include Nine Inch Nails alum Trent Reznor and Atticus Rose, will be working on the score for the series. Reznor. Okay. They have a stellar cast such as Doc Johnson, Jeremy Irons, and Regina King. And that is all that we have right now. Oh, I do want to add one special thing that Marvel Cinematic Universe producer Kevin Feige will take over. Thank you. Will take over XMen. That means that the two remaining films, Dark Phoenix and New Mutants, is still not confirmed of how it will be released. X-Men Dark Phoenix is still set to be released in 2019. New Mutants, it's not confirmed as to what venue they will release it to. It does appear that the X-Men will get the Marvel Studio treatment in the future, which I think we're all pretty excited for. So a lot of us had a lot of mixed reviews about the X-Men when they were with Fox. Now that Disney owns Fox, it's going to be a whole new cast, I would assume. I'm excited to see what's going to happen with that. That's all we got today for the news.
Well, I think there's a lot there, right? Like you've got this Todd Phillips Joker. Some people love it, some people hate it. I am in the hate it camp. And not because I think that Joaquin Phoenix is going to be terrible. I think he's going to be fine. I think that the script could be terrible. I think that once you gut Joker in the sense of like that mysterious origin, you don't know where he came from. Maybe they tell you, maybe they negate it along the way. I think you lose a lot of the power of Joker and that impulsivity, that craziness. So I have low, like Venom level low expectations for.
So I do want to mention on top of that is that a lot of people are excited. And once the Joker pictures and video was released by Todd Phillips of Joaquin Phoenix dressed as the Joker, so many people were so excited about it. And I think JJ's group, For the Love of Comics, I actually saw a lot of positive comments towards that. So it's going to be really, really exciting to see what's going to be the outcome of it.
But that's the point, though. I mean, it's the Joker. It's a member of Batman's Rogue Gallery. I mean, it's going to make money. I don't know how much, but
Right.
I don't know. I'm not as violently hateful of like Jared Leto's Joker as Cody is, but I will say that a Joker origin has to be written immaculately. I mean, just immaculately, and it has to be written by the right person. And I don't know. I'm not hopeful about it at all. Not at all. I mean, I'm kind of like, hey, that's cool, but
That's really funny to hear you say that, Derbs, because usually me and you are right there together and on almost anything. So although I still have my apprehension about the Joker movie, I'm super excited just because we get another movie that has one of our, basically our upbringing characters that we know. So I'm really excited to see where it goes. Do I think it'll be great? Who knows? I'm going to give it a chance, though. Cody is not going to give it a chance.
I'm excited to see how they're going to screw him up. That's the thing. Like, yeah, I love him, and I also don't want to see him get like so screwed up that I don't know. You guys have like converted me over to the comic side of things, away from the media side of things, and the movie side of things, and now I'm even more pessimistic than some of you guys are about some of this crap.
So after seeing the screen test, because there is a short, like 15-second video that was released of him getting off a train and walking across, which I'm sure we're going to show at some point.
Yeah, it was. I do want to mention that it was released on Todd Phillips' Instagram.
Perfect. But from the 15 seconds I saw, I will say I thought his body language and mannerisms were perfect. I would love to see that, but I absolutely despise the makeup that I've seen and the screen test of the makeup that I've seen, because to me it looks exactly like John Wayne Gacy, which is not a great comparison you want to draw. John Wayne Gacy obviously being a Midwest serial killer of young gay men in the 70s, I think 70s. I don't want to go any more in depth to that here, but
We appreciate that.
excellent. But not John Wayne Gacy. The Joaquin Phoenix does look like he has a good handle on the role, and I do feel like that's how I would like to see Joker moving around and acting, for the most part. But I despise the makeup. I really don't like the makeup. I understand that it's supposed to be an homage to Cesar Romero's first appearance as the Joker or something, is what they're saying, but I feel like that was 50 friggin' years ago, and they don't need to. I mean, sure, for people are drawing comparisons between that and the Joker's mask that was drawn in the dark, or was shown in The Dark Knight, but that was one scene in a 2.5-hour movie. If they make an entire movie that, nobody's gonna like it, and anybody who likes it has never read a Joker story before in their life. If you'd like to read some Joker stories, I highly recommend Joker by Brian Azzarello and Lee Bermejo, which we'll be reading later today. Or you can read Joker Last Laugh, or you could read the tail end of No Man's Land, which has arguably one of the better Joker moments of any series. He's popped up in dozens of issues over the years. Obviously, the biggest one would be The Killing Joke, which I just bought the Absolute edition of. I just spent $50 on that book, and that is the definitive Joker story, I feel. And as Cody said, it does portray an origin, but it portrays a potential origin, and it is often in canon been shown that that may not be the canonical origin, although it was confirmed in a detective arc that was later marketed as Pushback / Hush Returns, where someone's read it. Where Joker tracks down the woman who pulled the trigger on his wife, rewiring the hot plate that killed her in The Killing Joke, and thus making it post-crisis canon, which is not canon now, by the way. And that's all I got to say about that.
Strong feelings from JJ.
I would expect nothing less from JJ other than strong feelings. Like, I wouldn't know what to do if he wasn't over emotional.
The sun's behind me now. I'm trying to stay in front of it.
We are really concerned here at Comic Watch to make sure our lighting is perfect.
Derbs, did you have any news pieces you wanted to recap for us here?
No. Nope.
A couple other quick hits. We've got confirmation that Rob Liefeld is returning in some capacity to an X-Men crossover in 2019. We have confirmation from Rob Liefeld, so we'll see. Yes. I'm not a big Rob Liefeld fan. I get that people are. I understand why, kind of, sort of. But regardless, this is somebody that has contributed a lot to the X canon over the years. You know, he is an important figure in X history. So his return is a big deal. So if he does indeed have some kind of crossover coming out in 2019, that's something to be aware of.
Keep an eye out for shoulder pads, pouches, and feet.
There's so much new
or a lack thereof.
Yeah, there's so many new X-Men.
More of some of less.
I'm super excited. It's a great time to be an X-Men fan.
I sure hope you're right. Another news.
X-Men is a trash book.
Somebody needs to mute him.
I love shouting that in a crowded room. All right, I'm done.
Alan Heinberg, from the screenwriter for Wonder Woman. He's also written for a number of the Shondaland shows. He was a writer on Sex and the City. He's bringing a female-driven ABC Marvel drama to TV to join Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. next year. Very few details have been released so far, but it's something to keep an eye on. ABC, of course, had their Agent of Carter series, 2 seasons, critically acclaimed. The ratings weren't quite there. They also, in favor of Agent Carter, canceled a Mockingbird series. So perhaps we'll see Bobby Moore show up in some capacity in this new show, which would delight a great portion of the fan base.
I loved Bobby in that show, and I think it's maybe, I'm going to go out on the limb and say maybe we'll see an A-Force. I don't know.
Perhaps.
What was Misty Knight's detective agency called? Misty Knight had a detective agency that had Jessica Jones and...
Heroes for Hire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So who knows? We may see many
that might be cool
that are out there for us.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's so few details right now. They haven't ruled out any of the Netflix characters crossing over, which seems like that would be a strong way to go if I were producing a show. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it'll also be interesting to see how that develops with Disney coming out with their own streaming service like Netflix, but for Disney. So we'll see if that plays a role into it.
Well, on top of the news, it's been an interesting week for comic fandom. So I think I'm trying my best to limit myself on Batawang jokes this week.
Batawang!
We'll get to that.
We will get to that because that'll be our spotlight book later. So for now, let's kick off.
Sorry, I like Bruce Wayne the best. I think that's my favorite one.
Lil Wayne!
I'm a little partial to Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne's first appearance. Go get him, Wheezy. So why don't we kick off Comic Watch this week with JJ? So what's the word, JJ?
All right. Well, I got 2 books to review this week. First off, I have Avengers #8, which is written by Jason Aaron with art by David Marquez, also Justin Ponson and Corey Petit worked on it. Petit? I don't know. Probably Petit. That
I
sounds
believe
more
it's
like
Pettit.
it.
I think it's Pettit,
Pet-
actually.
Petit. That sounds more like it. That's the ticket, as Phil Hartman said. No, that was John Lovitz. Never mind. So the Avengers open up issue number 8 with a new headquarters that is based within a dead Celestial and is built by Wakanda. So the issue opens with Cap and Ghost Rider fighting, and then a recap of Loki being taken by the Celestials rather than the Avengers being able to take him into custody. Also featured is an interesting start of a relationship between She-Hulk and Thor, which I'm actually kind of for. Like, Thor has kind of lost Jane Foster at this point, and I've always been Team Sif, honestly, since, forever. She's really the original strong heroine in a comic book, if you look into it. Also featured was Doctor Strange revealing that he will not be a full-time member of the new Avengers and will be there in an advisory capacity rather than being a full-time member, which I thought was pretty interesting. Likewise, Carol and Tony, Captain Marvel and Iron Man, have it out a little bit. Tony hits on her after they have a pretty good talk, and then Tony hits on her and she punches him into a pile of stalagmites, which I thought was pretty funny. And then we pan over to the South China Ocean. I think South Ocean, which is north of Antarctica, and where a fishing boat is boarded by a group of Atlanteans who are then shot down and brutally hung off the edge of the deck, which results in an amazing splash page of Retribution by Namor. And oh my god, this is probably my favorite Namor costume in the last few years. Oh my god, the Namor costume is great. It still maintains his kind of classic look, but he's got a little bit of armor built in, and it looks great. And likewise, I thought the Cap and Thor fight at the beginning Cap and Ghost Rider at the beginning, on one hand was funny because it kind of fulfills the obligation that the first time heroes meet, they have to fight. And at the same time also had some good Cap moments and some good Ghost Rider moments, with Ghost Rider being revealed as a pretty inexperienced user of his powers. Okay. Likewise, as I said, I like the She-Hulk and Thor kind of romance that's brewing. It's kind of funny, and it's been solicited as something that's going to continue. So it's interesting to see where Jason Aaron's going with that, especially since he's been writing Thor for a few years now. And if anybody's going to give Thor an interesting new relationship, it's him.
Well, it's been going on like off and on the issues, before this, and
they made out like 3 issues ago.
Yeah, the only issue I have with it is that I love these books, but She-Hulk has taken a back step in her development, and I kind of have a problem with that. It kind of is the only thing that I've had a problem with, really, as far as the character development goes. And she's a little she's really hulked out right now. Like mentally, she's kind of dirt, and
which she kind of addressed in the issue, which I liked.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm just saying, like, she's a little dirt, and Thor is, macking on that, and that's just it's a little creepy. Just
like taking advantage of the mentally handicapped or something.
Yeah, I guess it's just I don't know.
That's a good take on it. Actually, that's interesting.
I don't know. I mean, he's Thor. Who gives a He's Thor. Who cares?
I care. I love Thor.
Well, what I mean is he's Thor. Meaning he's not like some PC, the guy's basically a Asgardian barbarian. I mean, he's good to go,
Oh, I can agree with that. He's Conan when they don't have the rights to Conan, for sure.
Yeah.
Which they're getting back, and I'm stoked about. And
which
Brian,
is
you
also
are
being written by Jason Aaron, right?
Yep. Jason Aaron with art by forgot. Brian, I do appreciate your input since you are reviewing the book for the site. Also, by the way, Brian Durbridge. I think that's all I got to say about that one. And on the other end of the coin, I am going to go ahead and write up Justice League number 8, which is written by James Tynion with art by Mikhail Janin. So the issue opens with, interestingly, a kind of retconned origin for Starman. Which, it wasn't a huge retcon, it just, the blast of cosmic radiation that gave him his powers was revealed to be from the totality, rather than the, just kind of a random cosmic bolt, as it was previously. So not a huge deal, but it was kind of a retcon of the origin, which is interesting, especially since Starman hasn't been seen in the New 52 or Rebirth, and we are still in New 52 continuity. And likewise, then Starman is kidnapped by Lex Luthor and tortured to give all his information. And he ends up back in the hands of the Justice League, who are going to question him next issue, presumably, with a fragment of Starro, which is, vaguely interesting. So it's weird to me because these Justice League issues lately, I found the Tynion issues far more interesting than the Snyder issues. The Snyder issues are kind of a mess, and the Tynion issues have been pretty straightforward, and this issue is actually pretty superior to the last 3 preceding it. So we move on to Batman Who Laughs and Lex Luthor talking. It turns out Lex has had Batman Who Laughs locked up in the basement of the Legion of Doom all along, since apparently Metal. Which, I don't know how that happened. Not even completely disregarding the fact that he showed up randomly in the Immortal Men, which nobody read but me. So whatever. Oh, that last issue was terrible. But Batman Who Laughs is chained with about 1 million chains in the basement of the Legion of Doom, and being watched by Joker, Sinestro, and Grodd, who are kind of nervous that this being that's was apparently at one point borderline capable of destroying the multiverse is locked up in their basement. And Joker even makes the point, which I thought was amazingly on point, that if a Batman's locked up anywhere, it's because he wants to be there. Batman Who Laughs could escape at any point. And he later proves that by pulling a dark metal pick out of his tongue and giving it to Lex for some reason, which we're not shown, and maybe won't be shown for another 4 issues, because apparently we're getting these just randomly. The last one was issue 5, this one's issue 8. There's no apparent rhyme or reason to it, which does make sense within the context of Snyder's run on Justice League. He unfollowed me on Twitter, by the way. We move on to Manta and Cheetah. In a town in, the East Coast somewhere, Nantucket-esque. There's a lighthouse. And so they're there to find someone, and Cheetah pours the Tears of Extinction onto her claws, which makes them capable of killing a god. And then she finds there's an old man walking down the street, and they say some stuff to him, and he says, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to drown the earth, which is, of course, the name of the next big crossover for Justice League and Aquaman, which is Drowned Earth, which, we're getting 2 Aquaman crossovers this fall. So, be excited. And then Cheetah uses her claws to kill Poseidon, and says, "We'll see you in the Graveyard of the Gods." Of course, the Graveyard of the Gods, the key was seen recently in Justice League in the possession of the Legion of Doom in the Hall of Legionnaires. So it does stand to reason that they're killing Poseidon in order to use his powers by stealing his soul from the kingdom, or from the Graveyard of the Gods, which makes no sense. Likewise, Batman Who Laughs says to Lex once they move back to Lex and Batman Who Laughs that, because Lex eventually just throws the book out and says, you know, if you're not going to tell me anything, then I'm not going to talk to you. And Batman Who Laughs, of course, tells him to get the chip off his shoulder, and the thing that was wrong with his universe's Lex was he always had something to prove, and likewise this Lex needs to stop having something to prove and get into a position where he's able to do something. And then he says, if you leave me now, you'll never learn her name. And we learn that the person or people trapped behind the source wall for forever is Perpetua. I think it's one person who's,
Okay.
you know, I assume going to be some MacGuffin level villain that's going to be able to terrify and take down everyone, and maybe get taken down by Starman somewhere down the line because he's powered by totality, and you know, the totality just makes it so you can do whatever the writer wants you to do. This issue is it's better than Justice League has been, because Justice League has been running 5 to 8 stories at a time with no rhyme or reason and resolving nothing, and then creating 3 or 4 more stories the next issue. I do understand maybe Snyder is trying to set up a 40-issue run, but he did a 52-issue run on Batman, and he managed to write the Court of Owls without bogging Batman down in 5 years of attempted continuity that hasn't happened yet. So, and he got the issues that ended up crossing over everything, like Endgame, years down the line after the goodwill had already been made. Right now, he's riding on the goodwill of Metal and the goodwill of No Justice, and trying to twist those into a run that is, as of now, I don't know anybody who fully knows what's going on. I've been reading DC for 25 years, and I have no idea what's going on with this book. Like, it's not a lack of understanding some deep references. It's not that I don't understand what he's trying to do. I do. It just doesn't make sense. And it's not making sense more by making one-issue interludes every few issues that are, for some reason, way superior. Justice League Dark is a better issue, too. Or Justice League Dark is a better series, and it's only 2 issues in. I don't understand what is going on here with the series in general, and the way to resolve it is not taking issues away, which is just a big problem with books these days. Like, you know, scrapping an issue for an origin issue, or scrapping an issue for a one-shot that's not related to the arc in order to extend or pad out a trade. It's a thing that happens. They're gonna go a couple, you know, maybe 4 issues down the line, and then release the Justice League Legion of Doom issues as their own trade. And it's, you know, it's probably a fiscally, you know, intended issue.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, absolutely. I
guess that's all I got to say. Avengers number 8, far superior to Justice League number 8. Both issues started and launched about the same time, and Avengers has gotten far more done in that amount of time. Justice League has been treading water and making no sense and taking random interludes away, which Avengers, granted, did that last issue with the Ghost Rider, or the, you know, Caveman Ghost Rider origin issue, but they had already released a cohesive arc prior to that. And I think basically what we have here is a person who's not prepared to do a team book and a person who is. Jason Aaron is far outstripping Scott Snyder at this point in terms of storytelling.
I totally agree from what I've seen so far. I haven't read a lot of the Avengers series. Full disclosure, I'm not a huge Avengers fan. I'll take Justice League any day of the week. But I have had some struggles with Justice League so far, and I'm a big Scott Snyder fan in the right capacity, and I think that this might be overreaching. So, that's 2 big-time books from JJ this week. Brian?
Yep.
Which Brian? We got 2 of them.
B.
All right.
RB2.
So I got 2, or no, I actually got 3 this week. The first one up is Pearl. I am so in love with this book. It's amazing. It's written by Brian Michael Bendis, and then art by Michael Gaydos. So Pearl she's a master tattoo artist, and she is an assassin for the Yakuza, but she doesn't necessarily want to be an assassin. So she falls in love with this guy, or thinks that she's going to fall in love with this guy, but only to be assigned to kill him because he may be from another clan. Anytime that she tries to ask him, what are we doing, or what clan are you from, he refuses it. He just wants a date with her. Honestly, this is probably my most favorite book currently on stands. Like, I get so excited when this gets released. It's kind of an epic romance set in modern day San Francisco, along with a lot of assassinations. What is she going to do? And at the end of this book, the only spoiler that I'll give from this book is that she's holding a gun towards somebody. Is it against her new love, Ricky, or is it against somebody else? There's 4 names on the list that Mr. Mike, who is the head of the Yakuza currently, to see what's going to end up happening. I cannot say enough good things about this book. Like, I am so excited to read it each week. My second book is XMen Gold, written by Mark. I'm already going to butcher through this name. I apologize. It is
Guggenheim.
What is it?
Guggenheim.
Exactly what Cody said. I fully support that. Art by Piri Perez, and the cover was done by Phil Noto. There's a dangerous Omega mutant, or a mutant out that's an Omega level. Kitty and her X-Men come out to do outreach for him to help him calm down. Once they calm him down, the mutant is shot by a human. They take him to the hospital. They are trying to save him. There's some bigotry at the hospital, so they kind of go around saying, you need to save him. However, we don't know if the new mutant was saved. I was thinking that this had more story, but as this was, X-Men Gold 36 was the final issue. So we're left with thinking, what the hell? Once again, Gold has not been my favorite issue, but I think it was a solid ending. I just wish we had some closure. Maybe it will be in Uncanny X-Men.
I love how you say, like, I think it was a solid ending, but I wish I had closure. Like, to me, those are mutually exclusive. Right. But I mean, that's just me.
So this is the thing. X-Men Gold has been pretty weak. I think we can all admit that for an X-Men book. We all expected so much more. So for me, reading so many, not necessarily bad, because if you're writing something, you are pretty much amazing and better than I am. But it's been, for me, less of a book that I'm interested in. And that's really hard for me because pretty much anything X-Men related, I am there, I am present, I will get every book. And as I did with Gold, but it hasn't been the most exciting or the best for me. So for me, it was a good ending because it was so many, after so many poor stories beforehand, I was like, finally, something good to end it. You know what I mean? Even though it left me wanting more, wanting what was going on with them, it's over. Okay, so Captain America Annual 1, written by Teenie Howard, which should be mentioned. I believe this is her first mainstream book that she's written. Am I wrong on that, Cody?
No, I think that's right, because she's known for Rick and Morty, Power Rangers Pink, but I don't think she's done any other mainstream work that I've seen.
And by the way, Power Rangers Pink is now on graphic novel, or I'm sorry, trade paperback. I suggest everybody gets it because it was pretty amazing. I grew up as a huge Power Rangers fan. I read like the first maybe 17 issues of Power Rangers brought to you by Boom Studios. I recommend it. If you're a Power Rangers fan, I would definitely recommend it. Also, back to Captain America Annual 1. The art was done by Ron Lim and Chris Sprouse. Okay, so this is actually a throwback. It has nothing to do with the current story, or does it? So during the advanced scouting mission in World War II, Captain America and Bucky come across old farmhouse where they find a group of concentration camp escapees are fending off the recapture. If they are held the line, the Allies will come to rescue, but it's going to be a long night. This story was amazing for so many more reasons. If you guys are currently reading Captain America or read Secret Empire, you'll know and understand what I'm saying. This actually brings in, because right now Captain America is battling himself as, you know, back in Secret Empire, he was Hydra. The world had changed at that moment. It's how we lost our beloved Scarlett Johansson. No, our Black Widow. So
and Rick.
Yes, and Rick. So this kind of
Jones.
comes back to the story. This kind of comes around to saying what his true motives are, what he's all about. And it's kind of a homage to who he truly is. And it makes me want to read Captain America even more. Like, check out issues 1 and 2 that's currently on stands now. And that is my week in...
And 3.
And 3. Not bad, God.
3 was really fun, actually.
Yeah.
You had one more, Brian?
Nope, that's it. That's my 3.
Oh.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to. I was supposed to have read Captain America Annual by now. I haven't. I'm only human.
I somehow missed it. I don't have it. I don't know what happened. I'm gonna have to yell at my fellas. I'll get it next week.
All right. Well, Derbs, do you have any Aquaman for us?
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
Thanks for asking.
Yes.
So this is going to be this is part 4 of what is it? Cinco Landis? Is that what it's called?
Yep.
Yeah. So I've been. I think I talked about it last time. I've been reviewing Suicide Squad, and that's gotten me into Aquaman. And that's, I don't know, that's one of my favorite things about crossovers sometimes. Sometimes it's just like, that crossover sucks and I don't care about this other, book. But this is like, a whole new arc for me to read. Anyway, so Suicide Squad and, the Atlanteans, Aquaman, they get into it at the end of the last book. King Shark and Croc go at it. And they're going to the Silent School, and Satanus puts up a field to block everybody with Dolphin from going in, and so we have Dolphin and what is his name? The guy who wants to be called Carl, and that's all I can remember now. His name is Carl. He's Master Jailer. Yeah. Anyway, they were in there. Satanus has all this magic around him. It's amplifying all of his power. So he feels like, king of the hill. And the Dolphin comes in, starts wreaking havoc with them. And it's looking like, the fight's just going poorly. And once they get through the magic field, there's some fighting that goes on. You should read the comic, but the point is
many impressive events. You would love them.
Many impressive, yes, fighting and action and all that good stuff. Anyway, what happens is they find this sarcophagus thing that can essentially subdue any type of energy or power that gets put into it. And Master Jailer is able to open it. He puts the nuclear device in it. He closes it up, locks it up, tells everybody to back away, and it goes off, and there's enough energy from the blast that he gets vaporized into a skeleton. He's done. And
he's probably fine.
It's actually pretty touching because he's got a daughter, and they're bringing that up a little bit, but in this one it matters even more because he's gonna die, and so that's kind of the big deal that happens at the end there, and then so now Mara gets involved, and Queen Mara is pissed, and she ends up kind of finding out what's going on. Gets the general that's involved with sending Suicide Squad arrested, and she and Amanda Waller have a little queen to queen, heart to heart, and that's really how that arc ended. I'm really looking forward to just the next crossovers with Aquaman, like you were talking about. Just everything that's going on with Atlantis right now is actually really interesting. Did any of you guys read this one?
I still haven't read through issue 1. I only read the first issue of the arc.
Oh, okay. Sure.
I heard a Cliff Notes version at one point.
Yeah.
I'm actually waiting for the trade paperback, but I love Aquaman since issue number 25. Like, I am sold.
Yeah.
I'm actually a longtime Aquaman fan, and for whatever reason, the Rebirth series didn't grab me. And you got to make cuts sometimes. You got to say, okay, I'm going to read this. I'm not going to read this. And Aquaman was an unfortunate casualty.
No,
yeah, books are too darn expensive these days to be buying every single one if you're not stoked on it.
Drawing the line at $2.99 a couple years ago. A couple years ago.
Derbs,
let's drawing the line at $5.
No, it's true. Every time you guys talk about gold, it's like you're talking me into it, the XMen gold, and then you talk me out of it. So I'm still not sure if I'm going to buy it or not. I still have it because everybody just. I mean, it's more about Brian Ardizo. You keep on going, it's all right. Oh, buy it. I like it. Come on.
Right. Okay.
Freaking bone.
So what I would do, honestly, Derbs, is, or anybody out there, I would read it no matter what, just because it is not a horrible story, like I said. But we're spoiled. I say this every week. We are completely spoiled because we get so many great arcs, so many great writers. What I would do is wait for Marvel and for it to release on Marvel Unlimited.
Yeah.
What else do you got for us, Derbs?
Teen Titans 22.
Sorry, what was it?
Teen Titans 22.
All right.
So I really like this. I really like this arc. I really like this new team. They're not really gelling well. Red Arrow is really taking issue with how they're all still pretty green and not working as a team, working as individuals, and just so she kind of trains them all and messes them up pretty good. Red Arrow's pretty great. She brings a lot of needed edge to this group. Someone more than just Damian to kind of kick the tires. Really was needed. And we also see that Damian goes down to his dungeon where he's got all of those, all of his rogues gallery that he's collected. And the first time you kind of get to see what's going on there, and it's deplorable. It's a horrible little dungeon, and Robin is blackmailing Black Mask and kind of giving him problems with a lot of different things, and just telling him that he's gonna mess with his kid, and that really just gets under his skin.
Oof.
So Black Mask ends up telling him that there's gonna be a break-in at a hospital, and they stake it out, and Wally Flash, Yellow Flash, decides to go in and one-man army it, and gets ambushed and kind of messes the whole thing up. And we see some I don't know, B villains, Golden Glider. I've never even heard of her, guys.
Golden Glider's great.
Okay, great. Oh, she's awesome. Anyway, so They get ambushed. It's not great. One of the new, just from the fallout of all the meta radiation coming from the the objects raining down from the source wall breach, has ended up giving this one of these characters powers. Anyway, she doesn't want to go. She doesn't want to get taken by the Titans, the Teen Titans, and she takes a nurse hostage, and they're able to save her, but again, it's very action oriented. It's tense. They prove again that they can't work well as a team, but it's really all just building to the end, where you see that one of the main reasons Damian's acting this way is because Red Hood is mentoring him, like they're both working together. So I really dug that. Like,
Cool.
These guys are, they're playing for keeps, and
Right.
I'm really looking forward to seeing where this goes. And then one thing that kind of, I don't know, irks me about the ending of this is Wallace gets, his guilt can't be overridden anymore. He gives in. He goes to find Roundhouse's parents to tell them it was his fault. And who comes out when he knocks on the door? Freaking Roundhouse.
Oh. What?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, what? Wow, that sucks. I'm so glad he died, and that was a really great, issue. And you just, like, invalidated it completely. Thank you.
Yeah. So I haven't really kept up on it, and I was kind of wondering, or when I say that, I mean I haven't kept up on Teen Titans. So I was kind of wondering where the new cast would go, but I can't find interest in it. What would you say for somebody who is kind of on the fence? Would you say yay or nay?
I guess it just depends on what kind of stories you're interested in, and what you're looking for in your reading taste right now. And you have to be interested in what's going on with Damian. I think Damian's really the key. Like, if you're not really interested in what's going on with Damian specifically, then but I am, so I'm there.
Okay, that makes sense. So for me, that would be a hard no. So I hear you have one more thing. I was really impressed that what next you're going to bring up.
So next, I've got a bit of a review, and I've got some of my own gameplay for the SpiderMan video game for PlayStation 4. So Marvel's SpiderMan. I'm probably about 70% into this game now. It's they've said that it's about 20 hours, but it's actually quite a bit longer if you're gonna do everything. It may be 20 hours just the base story. So you're looking at like a 40-hour game if you want to do everything, which is really impressive.
Wow.
And the travel, they have a fast travel system, but I mean, web slinging doesn't really get old. It only gets old when your carpal tunnel starts to act up. So let me just kind of give you an overview, but I don't want to get too much into spoilers about what's going on. I just want to say that, like, unless you're a diehard fan looking for some video game version of your favorite arc, the game is full of nods to Spidey lore, as well as a large dose of like a day in the life of Spider-Man, which is great. It's fun, it's interesting overall, but the graphics are stunning. I'm an avid PC gamer, and the only thing that reminds me I'm playing on a console is that it doesn't run in 60 FPS. It probably dips. I'm assuming its standard is about 30. It dips down to 25 sometimes, maybe goes up to 45, but that's about it. The rest of it's just so crispy and pretty. The motion capture is as good as it gets, especially the clip scenes. They did a really good job doing that. I mean, it's as good as it gets. The main thing about this game is that combat's really difficult as Spidey games go. But it gets better as you level up and upgrade, but you've got to get there. in the first place. So
Okay.
I've played them all, and I think combat in this one's the toughest. If you're gonna do it, play on friendly difficulty. If you're getting killed a lot, there's no shame in that. You'll be tempted to use the dodge button to get out of trouble a lot, especially if you've been playing the Arkham games. But it's not going to do enough for you. You're going to want to jump. You're going to want to zip attack to get out of the way, especially if you're getting mobbed. You need to be moving all the time. If you do that, you're going to be fine and master it pretty fast. But the worst of the worst are the big thugs. The game will initially tell you to web them up before you can beat them up. But if you're in an enclosed space and there's more than one thug around, you're just going to get killed over and over again. So use your suit power. Don't be embarrassed. Use your suit power. Use your impact web gadget to tease them out. I've died too many times against them to mess around anymore. If there's one, you can kind of play with your food, but if there's more than one, you're going to be in trouble. Combat starts to get easy around level 20. Once you get used to it, it's really fun. It's pretty incredible. It's guaranteed to be like a game of the year contender. I would say winner. It's hard for me to, even outside of just superhero games. It's pretty amazing. So
I'm so jealous. I have an Xbox 3. I have an Xbox One, and it blows watching a million people talk about how great this game is. All Spider-Man games have been PlayStation exclusive since The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So last Spider-Man game I played was Spider-Man Web of Shadows, which was fun. But yeah, this game looks incredible. Yeah, it's good. But yeah, this game looks incredible. I don't know if it's quite worth spending $300 for, but I'm probably gonna find out soon.
So I am playing it right now, and everything that George is saying, it's amazing, it's brilliant, but I cannot freaking beat Fisk. So that is level 1, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm having a horrible time with it. Granted, I only can play like once a week because of my schedule, but it's so frustrating.
Yeah, and that's part 2 of the first boss, and I think I died like, I don't know, 3-4 times. But yeah, you have to be like pretty dedicated for the combat, and for a superhero game,
3 or 4, there's like, that's nothing. You know how many times I've died so far? Like,
yeah, I've died on just random battles though, like just patrolling and and then I just die, so even just non-boss battles, so it's pretty frustrating sometimes.
Like,
mail me your PS4 and I'll beat it for you and I'll send it back.
Like my 4 times is like times like 12, and then we may get that number. But yeah, it's an excellent game. I love it. JJ, I hope you get to experience it soon, and I hope you die when you get to Fisk.
I'm going to beat him first try just to spite you.
I mean, I won't lie, it's one of the reasons I bought a PS4, but because there's a lot of other exclusives on there that I like. But anyway, yeah, that's all I got.
All right, well, keeping with somewhat non-traditional in our second episode, right? Non-traditional reviews. I thought I would bring up an indie book. It's called Isnana the Were-Spider. It's a Kickstarter book created by Greg Anderson Alisi, who's a friend. You can find it if you just Google Isnana Were-Spider Kickstarter, whatever. I'm on volume 2 now, and it's a really fantastic book. The general premise is it's all rooted in African myth. Right, so this entire world of African mythos that if you've read American Gods or if you've watched American Gods, you're familiar with Anansi the spider, right? Trickster god, kind of a Loki-esque character. This series is based on Anansi being banished from his mother world, the Mother Kingdom, along with his son, who tried to rescue him in Volume 1. Volume 2 really starts to delve deeper into this notion of African mythology. I think the art is beautiful. There's a handful of artists working on it. Walter Ostley is doing some of the art. Daryl Toe does some of the art in Volume 2. There's a handful of inkers and letterers that kind of come in and out. But so far, I've been really remarkably impressed. I'm not a big indie reader. I wish I was, but I just really haven't been. It's the big two are so expensive. It's hard. But there's a lot of really great incentives. The stretch bonuses or stretch whatever Kickstarter calls them have some really great options. You know, I think if you donate $380, you get like every version, a custom Funko Pop, you get a T-shirt, you get an original page. Like, it's insane. So I highly recommend it. Greg Anderson Alisi is a great guy, very talented. I would love to see him branch into some more mainstream work one of these days. I think that he's really got a talent for driving a narrative. I really have been enjoying it so far. So I wanted to give him some love. You know, it's important that we reach out and kind of spread the word on these indie books, because indie books seem to be growing at this time in the industry. The notion of Kickstarters and Indiegogo's seems to be really important. And if, God forbid, if the mainstream ever dies, this is where comics come from. So, support, give them some love. Google Magic.
Speaking of indies, JJ, I really like your hat.
Yes, Alterna.
I think
Alterna Comics.
Yeah, I think we all read a lot of indies. I just think that we have so much that we read that we want to just talk about everything at once. But yeah, I think that as more we go on, I do see us bringing in a lot of indies. I was looking over last week and this week. I actually don't have a lot of indies this coming up, but I think that we have a bunch coming up soon.
Regarding Kickstarter books, recently I backed Wolverine, Thief of Impossible Objects #2, which is a period piece about a master thief stealing magical objects throughout time, which is really interesting. And then I backed The Crude Knight #1, which is by Ryan Little, who's the same writer who wrote Prometheus, which is a previous Kickstarter book I backed.
Right.
And it's really, really good. I did manage to get a preview copy of that as well, and that's a really interesting book. I recently interviewed Ryan for Comic Watch, and that review is up on the site. Likewise, I also today backed Punk Taco #2, which features an anthropomorphized taco who's a punk rocker who is traveling around the universe, and is an interesting...
Does the taco poop ice cream?
No, I wish. But
Not
it's a cool book. The creator, whose name he just friended me yesterday, I can't remember it for the life of me, recently did a signing at my local spot, Arcane Comics and More, and I did pick up a signed copy of the first issue from there. So those are Kickstarter books I've read recently, or I'm backed recently. As for indie books, I'm reading, we can say The Weatherman, Ice Cream Man, Cemetery Beach, Wasted Space.
Red Shanghai, right?
Shanghai Red by Christopher Sabella, who's also writing Crowded right now, which is an amazing book about a near future where assassination has been crowdsourced, where there's a crowdsourced app that makes it so people can be assassinated legally by committee, basically, which actually kind of ties into a recent Green Arrow arc. But it's a pretty fun take, and it's a really fun book where this woman finds herself the subject of what essentially equates to cyberbullying nowadays, but instead of being cyberbullied, a bunch of people contracted to have her murdered. And she's not a great person, but it's a fun book by Christopher Sabella, who also wrote Cold War recently with the artist from Wasted Space, and which is Hayden Sherman, who recently did the Old Man Punisher one shot for the Old Man Hawkeye annual.
Yeah, cool.
pretty cool artist. Sorry to interrupt your reviews, Cody.
No, it's all right. It's all right. I think it's important that we do show some love to these indie publishers, indie creators, because it's really the future of the industry. I really do believe that is where the future is.
Yeah, creator-owned books, absolutely.
Absolutely, especially with the things that Image has been doing. Unfortunately, we've seen the struggles that Dark Horse has had with the loss of licenses. They lost Buffy, they lost Star Wars. Who knows what they'll lose next?
Conan,
but
as well.
Right. But looking back into the past, let's look back at the mainstream. And Batman 55 came out this week. So there is the much disputed Tom King run. I think our group is split down the middle of where we stand with Tom King at this moment. I have a feeling with the upcoming Heroes in Crisis that we'll be drawing more to our side. I'm over Tom King. I really am. And I really wanted Batman 55 to be stellar. And in many ways, it was a really great book. Spinning out of 54, right? Where 54, you've got these great moments between Bruce and Dick now versus Bruce and Dick when they first met.
Don't you love cucumber sandwiches now? Don't you love them?
Do you love them? I actually love cucumber sandwich.
What about chips? You like chips?
For those of you who don't know what he's referencing, there's a whole book based on Dick and Bruce's relationship and how Dick ended up passing, or his parents passed away, and how Bruce would offer, or Alfred would rather offer him cucumber sandwiches, which are amazing.
And it was a really nice book. There was some really great moments in it. Then you move on to 55, where you continue kind of that same bonding, right? Like, we're 5 months past the wedding that wasn't, and Bruce is still down in the dumps, and Dick Grayson, Robin, for anybody that might be completely confused right now, Bruce Wayne is Batman. Dick Grayson is Robin. Now Nightwing. So you've got Dick trying to kind of pull him out of the dumps. Like, I'm going to make Batman laugh today. I'm going to crack some jokes. We're going to go on patrol. It's going to be just like the old days. Great. You know, everything's wonderful. We're having some contests, like who's gonna shoot the grappling hook last? Probably Dick. Right? So the bat signal goes off. They go to the roof. They meet with Commissioner Gordon. And as all of this is going on, you're getting these little bits and pieces of guy is coming to town. It's KG Beast. That's a mouthful. I always hated saying his name out loud. Reading his
I've always loved the Beast. I've always loved him.
I like the Beast. I just can't. It's hard to say.
I don't like that they never mention him by name in the episode or in the issue.
Right.
Right. I did hear that there were some reviewers who didn't know who the assassin was.
Oh my God!
Stop.
Not shocking.
Yeah.
So anyway, like he's out there. He's setting up. He's got all these weird like diner moments where you never hear him. You only hear the crowd noise. He gets his gun. He gets his apartment. He gets his view. He gets his lookout, and then bam, shoots Dick in the head.
An entire issue of him getting an apartment.
Right. and then the end. Like, and we know that this is going to be a big thing in Nightwing. We've all, or maybe we haven't all, but most of us have seen the cover of Nightwing 50. We know that this is coming. We know that he's got the Batarang-shaped scar on his head, possibly brain damage. Like, we've got something coming out of this, but the setup to it just felt gratuitous to me. It felt like a narrative trick. It felt like, let's remind you how much you love Dick Grayson, how much you have grown up on him, how much he has been a part of your childhood, and let's remind you of that childhood, and then let's take him away. To me, it felt cheap.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, I absolutely enjoyed it. But again, I haven't been a longtime fan of DC, and it's only been the last couple of years that I'm gung-ho on it. And I say that almost every episode, which is okay because we're only 2 in. But I it really tugged at my heart. Like they had some really tender moments, and I think for a lot of new readers like myself, they're gonna really appreciate it. Like they know, they may have watched the movies, they may have watched the animated series, and know that he exists. But for people who aren't so familiar as you two, this is a great opportunity to bring us up, bring us present, and to make us feel like there was this whole connection. And I disagree with you guys. I absolutely loved it.
But they make you make that connection. Even if you're a new reader, they force that connection on you, and then they take it away.
That's good writing. It's
That's
making you feel
cheap
something.
writing. That's
It's
cheap writing.
totally
Mark
cheap
Guggenheim
writing.
could write that.
It's the cheapest of cheap writing. It's bargain basement. It's manufactured dramatic tension. It's dirty. It's
Dirt,
dirty.
you've always been on my side. Like, I'm done with this group. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, we all have our own opinions. I suggest everybody read it. And we'll go from there.
It's creating value for a character just in order to make you care about them right before they take them away. They recently did the same thing with multiple characters. I'm not talking spoilers. Don't worry.
Because we will deal with that next week.
I know. But like Poison Ivy recently had a heartfelt goodbye, and that all signs point to Tom King eventually ripping Poison Ivy away, who I don't give two craps about, and I never have. But I'm not going to, just because he made some callbacks to the War of Joke and Riddles, which was terrible, and just creating value with characters in order to quickly rip them away. That's like, it's soap opera writing that is it's parading around as can't miss issues. But what it is a bunch of gratuitous fan service intended to just tug at your heartstrings in order to tug at them further.
Yep, I totally agree. And speaking of, probably the second most talked about book this week was The Return of Wolverine. Speaking of fan service and trying to tug at your heartstrings, Charles Soule, Steve McNiven, Laura Martin on colors was astounding. I mean, she is always astounding, but Wolverine's back. He's got hot claws. He didn't even really use the hot claws in the issue, so there's no real development there. Hot claws exist. He's back. He's compartmentalized his memories, it looks like. So everything that like Danny Way did with Origins, that whole group did with Origins, it's just kind of irrelevant, or maybe it will become relevant later. Charles Soule, let Wolverine be. Please. Just let the man sleep. This was a real letdown, and I tried to get excited about it. I like the idea of Wolverine coming back. You know, it's been several years without probably the third most important Marvel character.
Impressively long, honestly, that they've managed to resist bringing him back, considering he is one of the top-selling characters Marvel's ever had.
Right. You put Steve McNiven on the book. That piques my interest. I like Steve McNiven's art. It looked dated in this issue.
Did we just lose Cody?
We might have lost Cody.
So for Wolverine, I am not excited that he's back. Oh, he's back. Okay. So yeah, I mean, no, he's fine. He's great. And he's back.
I feel like he's a character that they've invested a lot of time into over the years, right? I mean, obviously they've invested a lot of time into him, but into making him more dynamic, making him a more interesting character. And I feel like they brought him back without any of that, plus hot claws. So, I mean, one-man barbecue, that's dope, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I was really excited to hear him back. He's never been my favorite character. He's always been kind of for me. But right before he passed away, I was really excited to read all of his stuff. I think he had so much momentum coming back to life, and I do feel like this episode or this issue was kind of a letdown for a lot of us. I'm really interested to hear what our boss Ross says about it. Like, he's such a hardcore Wolverine fan.
Right,
We're gonna have to bring him on sometime to our YouTube channel, but it's just for
Well,
this
I
right
read his
now.
review. I read his review, and he basically is like, it's it's really well presented. It's beautiful, but it's just a regular Wolverine book. Like, there was really nothing new or interesting about it. It's just more of the same.
Yeah.
But he liked reading it. Anyway, that was my take home from that.
Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to reading it, and you can read that on comicwatch.com. So that's it for me in reviews. Why don't we move on to our Spotlight book, which is clearly the most talked about book in comic fandom right now. Marvel said Wolverine's back, he's got hot claws, and DC said, hold my beer. Do you want to see Batman's dick? And we all said yes.
I know I do.
Yes. So here it is. Batman Damned from Brian Azzarello and Lee Bermejo. You might recognize their work from Batman Deathblow crossover, from their acclaimed Joker story, from their Lex Luthor Man of Steel. This is a powerhouse duo launching DC's Black Label. And it was nothing short of remarkable. I thought that this book has all the potential in the world to just blow the doors off, except it's the first appearance of the Batwing, and that's all anybody wants to talk about. So why don't we get it out of the way? Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Bruce Wayne's dick. Who's got jokes?
Ha! Oh man, now I can't think of any. There are so many.
I don't have a joke as much as I have a question for you, Selena. Everybody saw his movie. What happened? What happened, Selena? For those of you who don't know what I'm referencing, it's Selena, Catwoman. They were set to be married. They ended up not getting married, and we all saw his movie. So I was just wondering what happened.
My assumption is that he wasn't. My assumption is he wasn't taking her. He was too busy being Batman and wasn't taking her downtown to Pound Town often enough. But
okay, before we get kicked off, before Tyler ends up firing us all, it's kind of a catch-22. Yes, marketing. It was a absolutely genius move on DC to be like, hey, and this drawn penis has gotten more media coverage than the last celebrity sex tape. Can anybody even remember who banged on video for Vivid lately? Probably not. But this has literally been on TMZ. One of my friends who has no interest in comic books whatsoever, she's like, hey, what's the deal with Batman's penis? And I was like, oh yeah, it was in the Damned. And it's really sad that, well, hold on. Yay, DC, for doing all that media coverage. It worked. Everywhere is sold out. Amazing. But it's such a great story. I'm afraid that the story will get overshadowed by his wang.
And it definitely has been. We've been talking about it for 5 minutes, and we haven't mentioned the story once.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Right, it's absolutely true. And I mean, you've got a story where Joker is dead. They've got a dead body. It looks like Joker. This is the mystery. Batman has been fatally wounded. He's rescued by John Constantine. Wonderful. Like, there's just not enough books with Batman and John Constantine in them. And who's hanging out with John Constantine but friggin' Boston Brand, Dead Man?
Some people might say too many books with John Constantine and Batman.
Maybe.
Post Vertigo John Constantine anyway.
Maybe. I totally disagree. I love the interplay between Constantine. And Constantine is our narrator, and he tags himself as an unreliable narrator. You don't know what's happening. I have theories. JJ and I have talked about the theories. I don't want to throw them out there to the masses, and in the event that it just totally ruins the book for you, like Sixth Sense. Bruce Willis
I
might be
could
dead.
ruin the book. I don't care about them.
I don't want you to do that though. We want to build a rapport with our viewership. We want them to come
punish
back.
them.
No,
Punish them.
They're already punished. They have to look at our faces.
I know, for over an hour a week.
For over an hour a week. That is absolutely true. I tried this week. It didn't work. So
I think an hour and a half is just our run time.
Derbs, you've been quiet. Derbs, you got nothing on BatmanDamned?
Did you read it, Derbs? I'm gonna call you out on TV.
So my LCS was out of it, and I'm probably gonna get it tomorrow, first edition. So it will have the wing intact.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't read it just because I've been waiting for the floppy. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that was my one Batman damned dick joke. Was they're not releasing the Wang in digital or trade, which means you gotta buy the floppy to see the floppy. All right, there's my one Batman dick joke.
Fantastic. So yeah, one of the things that wasn't talked about really leading up to this was that this is magazine size, like old school, like Conan heavy metal magazine size. For comparison, here's a regular issue with Crazy Quilt. I should. This was a birthday present from my mother-in-law, Judy Fennell. Thank you. I love you. So yeah, like it wasn't advertised in that, and that turns a lot of readers off. I was talking to my local guy, Ted Mays at Gecko Books in Honolulu, Hawaii, and he was saying if he had known, he probably would have ordered less copies, even though he's a big Brian Azzarello fan. Would have ordered less copies because people don't want to buy magazine size because it doesn't fit in a box. So I mean, there was a lot of really interesting behind the scenes industry work that went into this issue.
My LCS guys were pissed actually because they didn't have enough magazine size bags and boards to do all the subscriber copies, let alone all the people who bought it off the shelf and said, "Hey, do you have a bag and board for this?" And they didn't. And they were irritated because that should have been something that should have been mentioned up front.
Do you guys think that this will go to trade paperback? And if it does, do you think it'll have the peen?
They said no, it won't. They said it will go to trade paperback, but they said that all following, like I said, the first edition of the first issue is the only time you will get to see the unedited Batman Wang. I actually flipped my copy because I needed gas money. But yeah, it was in there, and I showed it to the guy. I showed it to the guy in the parking lot of the bank, which isn't a thing you should be able to say. I got two now.
Oh boy. Yeah, so I mean,
all right, ladies and gentlemen, we have JJ as the Joker because we all know that the podcast can't have 3 Batmans and 1 Joker, or 4 Batmans. We need to have a Joker or a villain, so to speak.
So in short, I really felt like it was a remarkable book. It lived up to everything I could have hoped for. It's unfortunate that this two panels overshadowed everything, but stay with it. I highly recommend it. Even if you get an edited version, it's a good story. Don't just buy it for the first appearance of Lil Wayne.
Yeah, and honestly, there's nothing short about this magazine.
I was actually a little let down by the story. I admittedly went in with kind of high expectations for the team up, and it did feel like a pretty obviously telegraphed what the twist is going to be. There's a chance I'll be wrong, but knowing what I know, there's a solid chance I'm not. And it's a fine issue, but I don't. If I rated it, I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10, and most of that is art. Bermejo is insanely talented. The story was kind of winding. It felt like a bit of a chore to read to me at points. I definitely checked at least 3 times to see how many pages were left. So that's not usually a sign that a comic is good, unfortunately, story-wise. And, it might have just been a little dense. I might have not been in a good mood. I'm going to give it another try some other day. But all in all, I don't think the story was quite what I had hoped.
I feel like I would probably give it 7.58. I see what you're saying about the story, but I have the view of the long game here, and I think that in the long game it will all come together. So that's just me. So that's it for me in reviews, or that's it for Spotlight Book. Future Watch. We've got a big week coming up. This is a very big week for comic readers. So what's everybody excited about?
Ross dared me. Week of Wang! Take it, Ross. According to what's the majigger? You know the one. Bleeding Cool. They said they leaked that Dr. Manhattan will be making an appearance in Doomsday Clock number 7, and he will be hanging dong. So we get 2 mainline DC books in 1 week that are both showing full frontal male nudity, which, granted, Vertigo books have shown plenty of that. Deathbed was last year, and Deathbed had at least 5 or 6 wangs an issue. And completely disregarding that, it was an amazing book with Riley Rossmo art, and you should buy it. But do be advised, there are wangs throughout. And that's that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Absolute edition of The Killing Joke. I'm going to be picking that up.
Cool.
I got it. It's great.
I've only had, I've seen your side-by-sides on Facebook. But for some reason, it's just one book I've never physically bought. I've had a digital copy of it in one way or another for years, but now I need to buy it.
I got the 20th anniversary edition in 2008. No, I got the 30th anniversary edition in 2018, which is neat. The Absolute Killing Joke is super cool. It features the recolored edition, which came out in 2008, which is recolored by Brian Boland, who didn't feel like the original was colored to his liking. But it also features the original coloring, which is practically an alternate version. I'm completely blanking on the colorist right now, but it's just basically it's on newsprint, which was mentioned to me. The book was never on newsprint. It was a prestige format book initially. Right. So It is kind of weird that they released it on newsprint, especially in an Absolute edition, because to my knowledge, Absolute editions have always been glossy throughout. It also features a script by Alan Moore for the entire issue, which is really interesting to read. Very, very dense. Very dense. And it covers gallery of Brian Boland covers through the ages, which features some Wonder Woman books and the covers to Joker Last Laugh and some other stuff.
So JJ, what books are you going to be picking up this week?
Oh God, I don't even know. So many.
Okay, give me 2 that you're looking forward to most.
What week is it? What year is it? I lost it. I don't know.
So you're probably looking forward to Heroes in Crisis.
Not getting it.
Oh, okay. Well, then. Derbs, what are you picking up this week?
It's $50, so just the Absolute edition of that. That's good.
Yeah, mine's $70, and it's just singles, so I don't even know what's on there. I buy so many books, I have no idea what each of I have to look at a list every week, or I lose it.
All right,
Brian, what are you looking forward to?
So this week, what I'm going to say is probably just a small amount of books that I'll be picking up this week. I am looking forward to Action Comics 1003, which should bring back Lois Lane.
1004.
Is it 1004?
It's 3 this week. You're right.
Yeah.
Is it 3? Oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Mute, John, mute.
Hey, do you think Bendis is gonna have him get framed by a crime boss, and then the Red Cloud is gonna kill that crime boss, and it's gonna feature a cameo by a random hero, or is he only gonna do that 2 issues in a row?
Who knows? Make sure you guys pick up Action Comics 1003 to find out. Heroes in Crisis is definitely a must get. Justice League Dark, which has actually been surprisingly really good.
I do love Justice League Dark. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and then I'm also going to pick up Titans. And how can I not pick up Extermination 3, which two issues have already been released, which are really good. We have X-Men Blue and X-Men Red for me. What about you, Cody? What are you bringing home to us?
Well, the big ones for me this week, obviously, Heroes in Crisis #1. That's going to be a very, very big deal. I have my reservations because of Tom King, but Clay Mann picking up the art duties. I mean, how could you not pick up something like that? You mentioned it, X-Men Red. I absolutely love X-Men Red. Tom Taylor and Carmen Canero for the last couple issues have just been a stellar team. Man, you really didn't mention everything that was in my wheelhouse, like Extermination 3.
Yeah.
There's a new issue of Redneck this week, the Donny Cates Image Vampires.
I do love Redneck.
Series. Redneck has been really good. If you're not reading Redneck, I highly recommend it, provided you've got the stomach to handle a little bit of uncensored Donny Cates.
I will say that it sucks because Donny Cates seems to have dropped his other gritty vampire book, which was under Vault Comics, which is Reactor, which has released 3 issues in 2 years at this point. And he seems to have completely stopped releasing issues in lieu of the fact that he's basically carrying Marvel right now.
What else do we have this week? Flash 55 will be coming out. We'll be starting a new Flash arc, which I think is good for Flash fans. Now that we've got the grips of strength behind us, I think we can move forward into the future of Flash. But it's a very big week. It's a very dense week. A lot of people are going to be spending a lot of money this week, I'm sure.
I'm scared.
I don't even want to know. I don't even want to check my bank account to know what I have for this.
I know that I have to wait till payday.
Yeah.
Which is Friday.
So I believe this ends episode #2, guys.
This will be it. This is episode 2 in the books.
Yeah.
I made it to the end this time.
Yes, you did. Thank you for getting a
Thank you, new phone, for not dying.
All right, so I do have some ending announcements. I want to wish our very own host, Cody, a very happy birthday. Everybody go on.
Cody.
Yeah, happy
He's
birthday.
19 years old, everybody.
19!
I wished him a very happy 50th birthday, and then he reminded me he was only 37.
How old is he? 64?
Something around there.
What year is it?
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Also, I do want to thank Tyler, who is the owner of Comic Watch, for giving us a platform to bring you news on YouTube each week.
I believe we have a Patreon on the site. If you like what we're doing here and you like what we're doing on the site, then subscribe to our Patreon. And give us some money.
And if
we like money.
Yeah, and if you can't stand us, there are other people to review.
If you give more to the Patreon, maybe we'll go away.
No, we won't. We're sticking forever. You're always going to be here. No, I really want to.
There's only one way to find out, people.
Yeah. I want to thank everybody for coming and checking us out. For our first episode, we had over 114 views, which is more than what I think most of us actually expected. We hope we continue to grow. I hope you reshare, retweet, reblog, do whatever you need to do. Make us grow. We really, really enjoy this, and we love you for checking us out. And we will be here probably whether or not you watch us or not. All right. Does anybody else have any ending announcements?
No.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Brother.
Bye, everybody. See you next week.
Yes, we will see you next week. Maybe not JJ.
You stay foxy. We love you.
Comic Watchers out.